Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Tesla Time News.
Episode 234.
On Now You Know.
We are brought to you, as always, by our amazing Patreon patrons. They support the news every week, and they get some really great perks for doing it.
And we're sponsored by BigBattery.com with the best battery prices in the USA, guaranteed. If you've got something you need to power, from homes to cars, RVs to boats, and much more, BigBattery.com has you covered, offering the newest battery tech. Use the code NowYouKnow to save 5% off your purchase today at BigBattery.com. So it looks like they weren't yoking.
Yeah, last week we talked a lot about a refreshed Model S with round steering wheels. We thought, oh, of course the yokes aren't going to happen anymore. But then we saw this. It's a picture of a refreshed Tesla Model S that was spotted in the wild with a yoke.
Interesting. So it appears to be a test vehicle, as it still has some loose wires dangling in the center console. Could this mean that it really will be produced with a yoke?
I don't know. Leave your comments down below what you think. And while you're down there, leave a like. Really helps out the show.
Now, there's many questions being asked if the yoke is street legal. NHTSA has said, at this time, NHTSA cannot determine if the steering wheel meets federal motor vehicle safety standards. We will be reaching out to the automaker for more information.
But the EU regulations appear to allow for it, since it fits the requirement of as long as you can't impale yourself on it in the case of an accident.
Darn. I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board on my Porcupine 6000. Darn it.
So yeah, this is the first time that we've seen the yoke.
That's their only requirement, by the way? As long as you can't impale yourself on it, go for it.
Well, I'm sure there's lots of designs that would fail to meet those criteria.
But I mean, how about if it's too fluffy? There's too much, carpeting on it, or too many pieces of rope dangling from it.
I mean, I'm sure that they would.
I just thought the EU, you guys should have the most massive regulations on things.
I don't know, whatever. But I mean, this is the first time that we've seen the yoke in the real world outside of any marketing pictures. So it's kind of cool. I mean, I guess I wasn't.
Kind of cool?
I mean, it's very cool. I can't really still imagine using it, like, for driving all the time outside of maybe a race course. But yeah, it is undeniably cool looking.
So Oshkosh Corporation, one of only 4 companies competing for the United States Postal Service fleet replacement contract, won the bid last week and was awarded the $482 million contract.
Why did Oshkosh Bagosh win a postal delivery truck contract? Don't they make jeans?
No, we're talking about Oshkosh Corporation.
Does that include the jeans manufacturer?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. But I mean, I was hoping that Workhorse was going to get the contract, because that would have meant an all-electric fleet. Does Oshkosh even make EVs?
Well, Oshkosh Defense is the subsidiary that will be making the fleet, and it's largely a defense contractor. And under their bid, they would only be making 10% of the USPS fleet electric.
Wait, so didn't we report on Tesla Time News recently that President Biden wants the entire U.S. government fleet to be electric?
Yep.
So then who made this decision of 10% of the postal fleet being electric?
The Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy, who was appointed by the USPS Board of Governors, all of whom were appointed by Donald Trump last May. Interesting to note that last week there was a lot of pressure on President Biden to appoint 3 Democrats to the 3 open seats on the USPS Board of Governors. This would enable DeJoy to be replaced.
And if he's replaced,
I think the contract could be awarded to a different company, one that actually is going to make EVs.
And can we just go back and talk about the truck here for a second?
Oh, the Oshkosh truck?
Yeah, I'm not the only one who thinks that this is a ridiculous looking truck. I mean, I'm not saying that mail trucks today look great or anything like that. It just looks like it's from a Pixar movie or something.
Yeah, or designed by a 4-year-old. We're not the only ones who feel this way. Zero Emissions Transportation Association, or ZETA's executive director, Joe Britton, said about the announced contract, U.S. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy is trying to lock our postal vehicle fleet into decades of carbon-intensive transportation. This directly conflicts with the administration's stated goals and is certain to see swift pushback from appropriators who have sought to drive USPS vehicle electrification. Many have questioned whether DeJoy has actually had USPS's best interests in mind, but this reckless misstep is a new low. We encourage others to join us in speaking out about this decision and call on Congress to act on what is a clear invitation from DeJoy to reverse his decision.
How nice to have an organization that can talk like that.
I want to be clear here. We do own stock in Workhorse, and I would like to see Workhorse get this contract because they're going to make an electric fleet.
Right. And it's not just because you own the stock, though. I mean, Oshkosh Defense has not made a lot of, should we say, affordable vehicles. They're typically your taxpayer delight kind of very expensive vehicles for the military. So, of course, has to be military spec and all that. But wouldn't you rather have a company that's already been making electric vehicles for fleets to make an electric vehicle fleet for the U.S. Post Office?
And you have the power. You guys watching right now, there's probably 50,000 of you from the United States. If you just all reach out to your representatives, they are going to be like, what just happened?
Right. So yeah, we highly encourage you go reach out to your lawmakers to put pressure on the Postmaster General, whether that be the new or the old Postmaster General.
And if you want to share this story with your friends and family, we've got it over on the Now You Know Clips channel, where we chopped it up into a nice bite-sized clip that you can easily share. All right, so lots of questions last week about the Tesla Standard Range Model Y and how it disappeared from the menu.
Right. First, they lowered the price by $1,000, and then it disappeared.
And so Jason said, why was the Standard Range Y removed?
Elon said it's still available off menu, but I don't think the range in many drive conditions yet meets Tesla's standard of excellence.
So Jason went on to say, does this mean that the long-range rear-wheel drive reservations will be made to offer more range? You mentioned that a while back.
And Elon said we have too much product complexity already. So
what's he talking about?
So what Jason is talking about is the long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y.
But they don't make that.
Correct. You have to get a dual motor Model Y if you want to get the long range.
Wait, so why does he want a rear-wheel drive one?
It would be slightly more efficient. It would be slightly cheaper. So that's kind of why Jason wants that. I think that there's a couple reasons why you wouldn't want a rear-wheel drive long-range Model Y.
Okay.
Of course, I mean, keeping in mind, I do want the cars to be cheaper. But with dual motors, you're going to have less tire wear on one set of wheels, that being the one that has the motor on it, because it's doing all the acceleration and all the braking, or the lion's share of braking. You have a lot more tire wear on the rear-wheel drive cars. And secondly, in any kind of inclement weather, having all-wheel drive is a really, really nice feature and makes Tesla's cars safer.
Now, Sam Corris from ARK Invest tweeted this out. Tesla won over California early. In 2020, it seems to have started winning over the rest of the U.S. And you can see from this chart that basically in 2020, we're starting to see that less sales are in California, which means that more are in the rest of the country. And Elon said, this is not about winning anyone over. We are production limited. The reason we are making our own cells is to supplement max production of suppliers. Even moving at full speed, they cannot build enough cells. An official Pope of Muscanity said, this is the reason that you're going into mining too, right? They cannot mine enough ethically sourced metals for your needs. And Elon said,
Nikola is our biggest concern for scaling lithium-ion cell production. That's why we are shifting standard range cars to an iron cathode, plenty of iron and lithium.
All right, so this is big news then, that they're actually going to be doing what they've already started doing in Giga Shanghai, which is to make LFP batteries for the standard range cars. And I'll mention one big reason for doing this. Let's take a look at the spot nickel prices, which are up about 15% this year.
Right, and this is exactly what they talked about during Battery Day, that they're going to diversify their battery portfolio to have like shorter ranged vehicles have lithium iron phosphate. Then you have the lower nickel batteries for, your average cars, and then higher nickel batteries for the longer range vehicles.
Now, Hersemeren said, will other automakers face the exact same issue when they get into numbers that you're doing now?
Elon said, absolutely.
So let's just put this in perspective here. The Model 3 Standard Range Plus has a range of 263 miles.
Yep.
The Standard Range Model Y did have a range of 250 miles before they pulled it.
Right.
So I guess this is the area where they would be putting the LFP batteries eventually.
Right. I mean, he said for the standard range, but of course you can't go out and buy a standard range from the Tesla website. So does this mean that they keep expecting people to buy all of these off-menu Model 3s? Like, I get why they would do off-menu, but it seems like unless you want to have a small number of standard ranges, which I get, I guess, like, it's just so weird to me. Why not just have the standard range on the website?
Well, I think this next story might give us some clues as to something that's going on. There have been tweets from Sawyer Merritt earlier this week about Tesla shutting down Fremont for a couple weeks due to part shortages, possibly Samsung's chips. This got us thinking that it could be Tesla shutting down to change out the lines to LFP for the standard range vehicles. But then Elon tweeted on Thursday when asked by Dreams of Mars, any news on the Fremont shutdown? And Elon said,
Fremont shut down for 2 days, part shortages, and restarted yesterday.
All right, so that doesn't really point to shutting down long enough to change out the lines. Elon did elaborate further in an email to employees. We are experiencing some parts supply issues, so we took the opportunity to bring Fremont down for a few days to do equipment upgrades and maintenance. Fremont production is back up and running as of yesterday and will speed up rapidly to full Model 3Y production over the next few days. Model S and X production lines are almost done with the retooling and will be aiming for max production next quarter. There is high demand, so we are soon going to need to get back to 2 shifts. Please recommend friends for recruiting. Thanks, Elon.
So it's really cool to hear that the Model S and X should be contributing to sales even more now that there are vehicles that people actually really want, as opposed to like, yeah, I heard that they're going to do a refresh, so I'm just going to hold off.
This could be contributing to their bottom line a lot when these 2 very high margin cars go back into full production. But I do want to just keep throwing it out there. Do you think it's possible that they needed this time to get ready for putting LFP packs into some of the standard range cars?
Maybe. Again, it's just so weird that you would offer the standard range Model Y for 6 weeks and then discontinue it, but it's available off menu. Why do all of this?
I think it was really important for them to have a sub $40,000 Model Y on their menu. And so I hope it does come back. Now, maybe it has to go up to, 263 miles to make Elon happy. But having that option, I think, is going to be really big for a lot of people.
And I can understand Elon's hesitation because people don't necessarily understand the difference between 250 miles versus 300 miles. And you might say, like, well, that's not a very big difference. And especially for people who this might be their first electric car, they might not know and then kind of be a little annoyed when 250 miles doesn't fit exactly what their needs are. So I can definitely see Elon's hesitation, but it's just like, I don't know, I guess we're just kind of waiting for battery prices to come down, or we're waiting for Tesla to put out a standard range, Model 3 and Model Y that Elon actually thinks are good. So there was a lot of exciting stuff this week going on with Starship. We're going to completely ignore anything that goes on with Falcon this week because whatever, we're only talking about shiny starships. So SN10, which is the next Starship to launch, has completed 2 static fires. That's where you hold down the rocket on the ground and you test out the engines. After the first static fire, Elon said that one of the engines needed to be swapped out because it was suspect. And this engine swap didn't take very long at all. And the second test fire took place just 48 hours after the first test fire.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, they must have hired some NASCAR guys to go in. I don't know how much more difficult it is with an engine. I imagine it's very difficult. And then there's this tweet from Elon, which shows the Starship on the launch pad.
Now, what are those things on the side of the Starship there?
Those are test heat shield sections. So just like the space shuttle, the Apollo missions, and even the new Perseverance rover mission uses heat shields to be able to enter an atmosphere traveling very fast and dissipate that heat without melting the rocket.
But I thought that it was going to do sweating for its heat dissipation.
Right. And Elon has mentioned this. He said that transpiration cooling will be added wherever we see erosion of the shield. Starship needs to be ready to fly again immediately after landing. 0 refurbishment. Although that tweet was from a year ago.
All right. Then Toby Lee said, how long until you think Deimos and Phobos rigs will be operational?
Elon said one of them may be in limited operation by the end of this year.
Wait, what's Deimos and Phobos?
Those are the names of Mars's 2 moons. They're actually just asteroids. But in this case, those are the 2 oil rigs that Elon bought for $3.5 million each a couple months ago that will become SpaceX's first offshore floating launch and landing sites for Starship.
Oh, okay. So then this tweet makes more sense. Eric X says, any further details on the rigs?
Elon said, I hope we don't go bankrupt building them.
Oh, so these aren't cheap to build?
No.
And then Cantaroo said, how will Starships be transported to the floating platform? Will these launch platforms be stationed permanently in the Gulf?
Elon said they will fly there from our launch site stationed around the world.
Then Everyday Astronaut said, will they have Saboteur reactors on them and produce their own propellant, or will it be shipped out?
Elon said, short term, the methane will be delivered and the oxygen will be produced. Propellant is 78% oxygen. Long term, Saboteur reaction to convert CO2 and H2O to methane and oxygen using wind and solar power.
Wait, so the rocket fuel for the Starships are going to be made on the floating platforms?
Yes.
What?
Yes. Essentially, using electrolysis, you can split water into hydrogen and oxygen. When we're talking about hydrogen power, we're focused more on the hydrogen, but you can also take the oxygen, because it's H2O, and use that as well. And then if you take the CO2 out of the air, you can convert that into methane.
I want to know more about these rigs.
Well, the rig Phobos is currently in Pascagoula, Mississippi, where it'll be refitted to launching rockets, and Deimos is at the port of Brownsville, just up the street from SpaceX Brownsville.
That's really cool. I mean, if you're nearby, maybe get some pictures of it for us, because, I mean, this isn't the actual rig. This is just a similar rig. I can only imagine what it was like one day when Elon was like, anyone available? You interns over here. We need to design and build the new space rigs. Thanks. And they're like, what? Wait, what? Okay.
And we're not 100% sure what these rigs are going to be for. I think that these are going to be the offshore platforms that the launching and landing of all rockets is going to take place from.
That makes a lot of sense because, I mean, right now when you launch a rocket from the ground station, you're disturbing people and animals and stuff like that. If it's offshore, there's a lot less people and animals to disturb.
Right.
So you think they're going to keep these apart and do like launches and landings between them?
No, I think that Starship and maybe even Super Heavy are going to return to the platforms that they launched from.
But I mean, if we look ahead, don't you need to start planning how you're going to do, intercontinental trips, and you have to start planning how you're going to do all that stuff?
Well, yeah, but I mean, the booster can return back to the thing, or you could have, the intercontinental, you'd land
Intercontinental.
Yeah.
I think this is moving faster than we all think, folks.
Yeah.
All right, well, while we're talking about space, let's do a Starlink update. So Jesse and I received Starlink a couple weeks ago, and we've already begun testing it. Now, we're going to have some more info about that soon. But in the meantime, Elon has given us some cool updates. Anthony said, set Dishy on the ground for now until the pipe adapter arrives, and he said he's getting 130 megabits per second. Elon said,
speed will double to 300 megabits per second, and latency will drop to 20 milliseconds later this year.
Then Tesla owners of Silicon Valley said, when will it come to the Bay? Still end of 2021. And of course, he's talking about San Francisco Bay.
Elon said probably mid-year, but Starlink is really meant for those who are least served. Bay usually has great internet.
And then Eugene Lee said, active coverage map?
Elon said most of the Earth by the end of year, all by next year. Then it's about densifying coverage. Important to note that cellular will always have the advantage in dense urban areas. Satellites are best for low to medium population density areas.
And then Elon went on to say, you might see much higher download speeds on Starlink at times, testing system upgrades. And then John Krause said, ever consider a mini Starlink designed around portability? So this would be a sub 1 foot dish diameter, self-contained router and rechargeable battery, maybe a compromise of lesser speeds in exchange, a game changer for travelers, photographers, or anyone frequently mobile.
And Elon said, sounds like a good idea.
That sounds like a really cool idea.
That does sound like a really cool idea.
Yeah, so you're going to have to stay tuned because we've got some really cool testing data that we've already done. So Lordstown Motors has entered their all-electric endurance pickup truck into the SCORE International San Felipe 250 race that's scheduled for April 17th.
This race is an off-road 290-mile loop race in the desert of Baja, California.
All right, so let's take a look at the marketing video for this race. This should be cool. Boys, did you play the whole video? What was that? It? Where's the dust and the off road?
No. Don't worry. They showed the rendering of what truck they're going to enter.
A rendering? No. You need a truck to enter the race. And then you need
the truck.
No, but that's a computer generated truck.
Right.
The race is a month and a half from now. They must have the actual truck out there testing. But why isn't there footage of it in the desert, doing all sorts of cool things?
Maybe they haven't built it yet.
A month and a half away from the race?
I don't know. Well, just hold on. Lordstown CEO Steve Burns said, we feel that it is quite a significant milestone for the electric vehicle community that an electric pickup truck can compete in an environment as demanding as Baja, California. Our goal is to be the first electric vehicle to ever complete the San Felipe 250, and with superior traction, weight balance, and advanced software control of our hub motor-based endurance, we are confident that we will do just that.
Well, be interesting to see. Lordstown claims to already have 100,000 pre-orders for the Endurance, which has a 109 kilowatt-hour battery for an EPA estimated 250 plus miles of range. Of course, this features 4 hub motors, which is going to be cool, and the first ones off the line will have the crew cab configuration and the medium-length bed. The cost is $52,500, and production is expected to start this fall. And we have a reservation ourselves, so be interesting if we get a hold of one to test it out versus our Rivian.
and maybe even the Cybertruck if it's out by then.
Yeah. And speaking of Rivian, on our in-depth 2 weeks ago, we raised some questions about Rivian's Adventure Network, which is basically their charging network.
Well, we asked, and we're starting to get answers, especially about the charging speed.
It appears that Rivian is applying to install a Rivian DC fast charger station in Salida, Colorado. During that permitting process, they filed this preliminary spec sheet as seen on the Rivian forums.
Interesting. So this shows a continuous and peak DC output of 300 kilowatts. Now, we had conjectured that it was going to be more like, 120 kilowatts. So this is a welcome upgrade for anyone who's thinking of buying the Rivian.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is what the R1T and the R1S will be able to take as maximum input, or if this is just what the station is able to put out. Those are two completely different things.
And as we can see here from this map of Electrify America chargers in Colorado, this Salida location would be a good spot. In fact, Tesla has a supercharger in a town right next to Salida. Also, if you take a look at Electrify America, a lot of the stations are exactly where Tesla stations are, and Rivian is basically copying Tesla's map. Now, that's not to say that they're literally just like, oh, okay. I think that for charging locations, I think that you're probably going to independently reach the same conclusions. So I'm not throwing any shade anywhere. I'm just saying, like, they're going to make a pretty good network if they're going to be copying Tesla.
I'm just concerned because I'm going to guess it takes about 90 days at least to get a charger site permitted. And then it's got to take at least 90 days to get it constructed. Mm-hmm. So if that's true, that if they're just filing this now in Salida, it won't be ready until fall. And this is just one of the first we've heard of. So if they haven't even started permitting in other towns around the U.S., are they actually going to have their network up and running by June, which is when the trucks start coming out?
No, you're right. It is a big question. Charging is what people are going to care the most about.
I don't know that they will. That's my whole point here, though. I think a lot of people are excited by the truck itself, and they don't realize until they get it home and a couple weeks later that, like, oh, we can't really go where we wanted to because they didn't think about the charging first.
True, and Rivian's kind of focusing on Aspen, which is where I would expect they would kind of focus on, like the Lake Tahoes and the Aspens of the world. I hope that they fill all the gaps in the Electrify America map, but obviously that's not going to be feasible for them. They're not a giant company, and they didn't have to spend a lot for Dieselgate scandal reasons. So yeah, I think that they're going to be focusing more on these regions. I just hope that works out for most people.
Here's Rivian's preliminary spec sheet for their AC charger, which outputs 11.5 kilowatts. So these will be in locations probably like restaurants and hotels and places where you may not need as fast a charging or they can't provide as fast a charger.
And I think that this would be perfect for hotels in areas that they want to spruce up their charging in. So you might remember in September that Hindenburg Research came out with a damning report of Nikola and its founder, CEO Trevor Milton. Nikola denied the claims, saying an activist short seller whose motivation to manipulate the market and profit from a manufactured decline in our stock price published a so-called report, replete with misleading information and salacious accusations directed at our founder and executive chairman. To be clear, this was not a research report, and it is not accurate. It was a hit job for a short sale profit driven by greed. We have nothing to hide, and we will refute these allegations.
So did they refute them?
In that report they did, but then in Nikola's Q4 10K filings, Nikola admitted to 9 lies that Nikola and Trevor Milton told.
You just said they were going to refute everything.
Well, they did at the time, but then just recently they basically admitted 9 lies in a 130-page document that you probably wouldn't pick up on if you weren't looking for it.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm glad they're coming clean with all the lies that he told.
Well, not all of the lies that he told, just the ones that Hindenburg called them out on. I'm going to read directly from their 10K filing. The Hindenburg article alleged that Mr. Milton or the company made a number of statements which it asserted were inaccurate, including, but not limited to, the following.
In July 2016, the company stated that it owned rights to natural gas wells, and in August 2016, that the wells were used as a backup to solar hydrogen production.
False.
In August 2016, Milton and the company stated that the company had engineered a zero-emissions truck.
They didn't.
In December 2016, Milton stated that the Nikola 1 was a fully functioning vehicle.
It wasn't. That was a lie.
That a October 2017 video released by the company gave the impression that Nikola 1 was driven.
It wasn't. It was rolled down a hill.
In April of 2019, Milton said that the solar panels on the roof of the company's headquarters produce approximately 18 megawatts of energy per day.
They don't.
In December 2019 and July 2020, Milton stated that the company can produce over 1,000 kilograms of hydrogen at the company's demo stations and that the company was down below $3 per kilogram at that time.
That was false.
In July 2020, Milton stated that all major components are done in-house. He made similar statements in June 2020.
And those were false.
In July 2020, Milton stated that the inverter software was the most advanced in the world and that other OEMs had asked to use it.
Incorrect.
And in July 2020, Milton stated that 5 trucks were coming off the assembly line in Ulm, Germany.
That was a lie. And to wrap up this segment of their 10K filings, the statements listed above were inaccurate in whole or in part when made.
Now, Trevor Milton had a 23.9% stake in Nikola as of September 20th in 2020. And while he can't do certain things with the shares, he can sell them.
Which basically means that he is able to profit off of his lies. Oh, and also, Nikola is paying $8.1 million for his legal fees.
Can you imagine his law office right now? They're like, yes! All right, let's get that new gold copier that we always wanted and the platinum coffee bar.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I can't believe that this company got as far as it did, especially when there were so many people saying that it was a scam well before Hindenburg Research ever came out with any of their stuff. Everyone was a little skeptical about the company, and yet they got a deal with GM. They worked with plenty of other...
Can I just ask a question, though?
Yeah.
Since the company itself is admitting these were lies, where's Milton right now? Like, why is he not... Where's the SEC right now?
Right.
Why is he not being indicted for something?
Well, I mean, there are a couple of grand jury investigations. That's what the $8 million is for his legal fees.
But wait, the company has to defend him? What a good contract you had there, Trevor. Wow.
Well, it's because he was the founder and CEO. I'm sure that he wrote and signed that contract.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we reported on the Green Act, which includes a $7,000 federal tax credit for EVs. Last week, Senator Jeff Merkley and Congressman Peter Welch introduced a new bill, the Electric Cars Act, which would amend the existing federal tax credit. Now, class, what would be a good name for the Electric Cars Act? Johnny, wake up.
The electric credit access ready at sale act.
Very good, Johnny. You were paying attention. Yeah, so I don't know why they can't pass the law without having a stupid acronym, but it's the Electric Credit Access Ready at Sale Act.
Well, what would, you wouldn't know what you were talking about if it was called like the Rumpelstiltskin Act.
No, but they have to force the words to those words shouldn't even go together.
Whatever. It makes an acronym, and the acronym is pretty cool.
All right. Well, this bill proposes 3 things. 1, it eliminates the cap per manufacturer, so car buyers could get the tax credit for the next 10 years, regardless of the manufacturer. 2, it allows buyers to use the tax credit over a 5-year period or apply it directly to the sticker price. This is super important because many people can't use the full $7,000 tax credit in 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, when I bought my Model 3, I didn't have enough tax liability to actually get the full $7,500 tax credit. So there was just some money that was just left on the table.
Right. And third, this bill would provide a 10-year extension of tax credits for charging infrastructure to incentivize EV charging build-out. Now, I know what you're saying at home. This will never pass. And you're probably right. Not all the things in this bill will. But it could help force the bill that we want to have more teeth. So if you want parts of this to be passed into law, we need to get loud. We need to call our representatives. And I was just doing some back of the napkin math. We have about 100,000 people who watch this video every week. Half of them or so are in the United States, and there's 50 states. So that means that in every state, there's probably like 1,000 people at least that'd be contacting the representative. And I can promise you, if even a tenth of that contact the representative, they're going to wake up. They're going to go, what? People care about this bill?
Right. And I think the important thing here is that it does away with this kind of arbitrary, like, per manufacturer limit. That shouldn't be there.
No.
If you want to incentivize car companies to produce EVs, you don't give them an incentive and then take it away from them. We know that didn't work because we saw that the Volt basically went away as soon as the tax credit went away.
Right.
which is really, really annoying because it wasn't that bad a vehicle. And it's really unfair to companies like Tesla because Tesla's only been making electric vehicles, something that the law says that they want to do.
Right.
So by taking away that restriction, it means that Tesla can like go full steam knowing that they're going to get this $7,000 tax credit. And it's just way better implemented.
Seems like every week when we do the show, there's not much Cybertruck news, but there was this tweet from Tesla owners Silicon Valley where they said Cybertruck will be the #1 selling truck in America. And Elon said,
final design was just in the studio.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, and if you're interested in the Cybertruck, you should definitely head over to Cybertruck Owners Club. They help sponsor Tesla Time News.
There you'll find a crowdsourced reservation tracker that you can update and find your place in line.
And check out their website for Cybertruck news, discussions, and community for Cybertruck enthusiasts and future owners.
We're going to be talking about a couple stocks coming up here. Disclaimer, do your own research. We are not financial advisors. And by the way, we do not hold stock in the Churchill Capital Corp, which we're going to talk about. So as we've reported, Lucid Motors is going public with a SPAC. They're merging with Churchill Capital Corp 4, which is CCIV. Recently, Bloomberg reporter Ed Ludlow interviewed the CEO of Lucid, Peter Rawlinson, and it was revealed that the production of the Lucid Air is being delayed from this spring now to an undisclosed date in the second half of 2021.
Another little factoid revealed in the interview is that Lucid is still trying to confirm over 3,000 parts from over 250 vendors worldwide.
Now, hang on. That's a big deal, I think, because that sounds like something you do at the very beginning of getting ready for production, making all those phone calls, all those emails of like, okay, we need a rear view mirror. Who's going to make it?
Right.
If you're about to go to production and what they said was going to happen like April or May,
yep.
I would think you'd have all those contracts signed. You'd have shipments starting to arrive. Like you'd have quality testing and all that done. If you're still working on that from 250 plus vendors, I don't think you're anywhere near ready for production.
And congrats to Ed Ludlow for getting that out of Rawlinson in an interview.
I think that he got that out of him because I think that with this SPAC and the fact that they're raising $4.5 billion, I think that takes a load off. And I think that he kind of made a mistake here. I don't think he should have told us that information because that makes it sound like, hey, now we can just relax on our deadlines. Like if you're willing to let this deadline slip, how many more are you going to let slip? Right. I mean, Rawlinson said they have now a runway through 2023, which...
That's not what you want to hear.
Translate that. That means we don't really have to make enough money until, we've got money to burn through that period.
Yeah, and you don't want like a short runway. You don't want to be like, there's only a couple months left before we've run out of money and the company goes insolvent. But having too long a runway just means like, we could sit around a little bit longer. We don't have to, really be working that hard. And that means that your culture is going to develop to be, whatever, man. Take it nice and slow and easy.
In other SPAC news, do you remember this company, Jess? Exos Incorporated.
The logo looks familiar, but I do not recognize the name.
They used to be called Thor Trucks, but in 2019, RV company Thor Industries filed a lawsuit claiming that Thor Trucks was infringing on its name.
Okay, so Thor got changed to Exos.
Now Exos is going public in a SPAC with Next Gen Acquisition Corp, which will provide Exos with $575 million. The money will be used to build a vehicle assembly and battery manufacturing capacity and to continue to work on next-gen battery systems and other technologies. They expected to be cash flow positive by 2023. NextGen raised $375 million last fall in an initial public offering.
So Exos makes electric trucks, and they've made like a couple trucks for Loomis. They've made a couple trucks for UPS. Mm-hmm. They should have a semi-truck, but what do they have that gives them an edge like over Tesla? How are they going to compete?
I don't know. That's a really good question because it seems to me that the problem with SPACs, as we've talked about before, is that normally your company would have started making money, selling things, which would show that the marketplace liked your product. Here, we don't know if they have something to sell or if people even want to buy it. And so as investors, we're like, oh, cool, an electric semi-truck company. But it's like, is it going to have what it takes to compete against Tesla? Because my big question here is, it comes down to people again, the best people, the best engineers. And I'm guessing if you're one of the best engineers, you're going to want to work for Tesla.
Yeah. Or you are done working at Tesla and you're done working really, really, really hard. And you now get a job anywhere. And so maybe you get a job at Exos. I don't know how many ex-Tesla people are at Exos, but you're not going to be pushing as hard as you were when you were working at Tesla. So yeah, I'm a little skeptical about, frankly, all SPACs I'm a little skeptical about, but I can get over that little hump as long as I think that they're a company that's moving in the right direction.
Also, I just want to talk about batteries. You're going to put a lot of batteries in a semi-truck. And so if they're not the cheapest and the best, then you're basically spending a lot of more money and a lot more weight for your battery pack.
That's a really good point.
All right, so check out this tweet from Elon. He said, literally. And this one, Pranay said, let's take Doge to $1. And Elon's like, should we? And then Magnus says, why do you love Doge so much? LOL. And Elon said, I love dogs and memes.
I'm sorry, did we miss something? Have we moved into the Elon Tweets of the Week section and I missed it?
No, you haven't missed the Tweets of the Week. We haven't gotten to that section yet. This is kind of, well, its own news story. Official Pope of Mescanity said, the SEC investigating dog memes sent by a memer about a meme coin is peak 2021. All hail Emperor Musk. And Elon said, I hope they do it. It would be awesome. So yeah, this is a story because Financial Newswire First Squawk tweeted last Thursday, SEC is said to investigate Tesla chief executive Musk for his tweets on Dogecoin, sources familiar with the matter.
Wait a minute. I thought the whole point of cryptocurrency was that the government wasn't involved in the cryptocurrency because it's that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Why is the SEC involved?
I mean, my research hasn't made it clear if the SEC even has jurisdiction over cryptocurrency or not. Maybe because Tesla has bought Bitcoin. But either way, Elon's last tweet only strengthens his position because, let's be honest, the SEC is damned if they do anything.
Yeah, I mean, let's just talk about this for a second. Let's say that Elon has a large stake in Dogecoin or whatever.
Which he said last week that him and his family are mining for.
Right, which is, he said was more of like a family fun project and not like, but there were lots of people who were doing family fun projects of mining for Bitcoin who now wish that they could remember their wallet passwords because they'd be millionaires.
Can you imagine like Timmy's mom who's just like, Timmy, where did you put your Bitcoin wallet? Where? Think.
I don't know.
Think, Timmy.
I don't know, Mommy. But here's the thing about how brilliant this is in terms of Elon. Let's say that he owns a lot of Bitcoin. Let's say that the SEC is going to try and investigate him on it. It means that there's going to be a lot of stories about the SEC investigating about a thing called Dogecoin, this old meme. Sorry, it's an old meme. And people are going to go, that's hilarious. It's only like, what is it? Like 10 cents right now. They're going to like, I'll buy like 50 of them. And that's going to drive the price up even further. That becomes a news story. And then all of a sudden you have like a GameStop kind of scenario where it's like the SEC is trying to put us down, man. Let's buy Bitcoin and inflate the price.
Yeah, I mean, Elon controls the memes. And as he said many times, those who control the memes control the universe. All right, so Tesla white hat hacker Green has again found something hidden in Tesla's code. This time it's information on how the software will soon be able to store a driver's or user's profile in the cloud.
So what's this all about?
Well, Green explains it in layman's terms. He says, Tesla is preparing to move profile items to the cloud, so when you get into any Tesla car, your profile migrates with you, based on your phone app, I imagine. This includes games and other app settings and such in particular.
But this is a big deal. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, you might be saying, like, well, I don't care which car I'm in. But what does that mean? Why would they have this infrastructure in place?
I think this is a big deal. It means that Tesla is getting software ready for when they turn on the Tesla network, because what is necessary to happen when the users start taking rides in autonomous robotaxis?
You're going to want your profile data. You're not going to want to have to spend 5 minutes signing into Netflix every time you get into your robotaxi to drive across town.
Right.
And so by having all of this stored in the cloud and then brought to the car that you step into on your way using the robotaxi network is exactly what you want. And the fact that they have this code in the cars now is really exciting, because they couldn't have done it without that.
Right.
I mean, they could have, but they probably wouldn't have.
And it shows a level of confidence. I mean, if you're nowhere near ready, then you're going to be like, yeah, push that back. We're not, don't even bother. But it means that I think they feel very confident. So Hyundai officially announced the Ioniq 5 last week. Let's check out some pictures here and let's get into the stats. So as you can see here, there's no fake grille, which is already a point, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit cyberpunk.
I mean, I like that they went cyberpunk, but I don't know. What do you feel about that diagonal line there? I'm not a huge fan of that.
It looks a bit like a dent.
It does, doesn't
Looks
it?
like some kind of diagonal car smashed into you, but you know, it's a look.
Let's look at the interior here. Cool to see the two screens. But here's a question for you. Why do the front seats go back like that?
Do you have like a little leg rest thing there?
Yeah, this is like an easy recliner.
But isn't it a car?
Does this mean it's going to have like full self-driving?
I mean, they haven't talked much about full self-driving, have they?
No, I mean, we're going to get into it in a second. They do mention them having basically the equivalent of autopilot, like lane keeping and stuff, but not level 5 or anything. This is the first vehicle to use Hyundai's new eGIMP platform.
Bring out the GIMP.
No.
Yeah, it is. It's the Electric Global Modular Platform.
But they wouldn't call it that.
No, they do. They call it the eGIMP platform.
No. What is it?
It's kind of like the MEB platform for VW. It's their skateboard platform that they're going to build all their cars off of.
Okay, so it's not going to be anywhere in the car.
The platform?
The name anywhere in the car, right?
Maybe they'll put it right on the back with eGIMP technology. All right, so basically the standard range battery is 58 kilowatt hours, and there's a long range battery of 72.6 in Europe and Asia and 77.4 kilowatt hours in North America.
Nice.
Not sure why the difference. Maybe the cold, but it's cold in both places. I don't know.
Yeah.
The ranges weren't really clear, probably because this car isn't all that efficient and they don't want to stress it. But it looks like the WLTP range will be 470 kilometers or 292 miles with the 72.6 kilowatt hour battery. The standard range could be around 320 kilometers or 200 miles. So not great. This supports 400 volt and 800 volt charging with DC fast charging speeds of up to 350 kilowatts. It has V to G with up to 3.6 kilowatts with one port under the second row seats and another port at the charging port. So you could use this both inside the car and out, that's great. I love to see that.
You could be blow drying your hair.
Yeah.
Actually, about 3 people.
Maybe that's what leaning back is for. You lean back and someone just blows dries your hair. It's getting ready for autonomous.
Okay, cool.
It's going to have a solar roof option. No specs on that whatsoever, so we don't know how many watts we're getting. It has a heads-up display with augmented reality capabilities and highway assist 2, which is very similar to Tesla's autopilot. The price, well, there's no hard price yet, but it's expected to start around $30,000 and go over $40,000 for the fully equipped version. It should be available in select regions starting in the first half of 2021. Those select regions are expected to be Korea and likely some European markets.
Do we really expect it to be $30,000? That seems like a great price. If they can hit that.
Well, I mean, the battery is pretty small.
That's true. 200 miles isn't... You want more like 250 because once you get to 200 miles, you have to think like, I'm not going to be charging it to full every day. So we're actually talking about like
150,
170.
Right.
And then as soon as it gets cold, it's like, yeah, I'd want a bigger battery than that. So I can see that. So Michelin just launched its first EV tire. So finally we can start driving around on tires.
Wait, what's an EV tire?
It's the first Michelin tire engineered to meet the specific handling and range requirements of electric sports cars.
This sounds very markety. Is this a real thing?
Well, so let's just talk about it. So it would have optimal grip on dry and wet roads. It would have outstanding resistance to wear.
That's good.
Which is something you want on an electric vehicle. I can attest to that. And it should extend range by up to 37 miles.
I mean, 3.7 miles, that's something.
No, 37 miles.
No. A tire can't extend your range by 37 miles.
Well, so let's just talk about how they came to that number.
Okay.
In the fine print of their press release, they talk about it. They said an internal study carried out in October 2020 comparing a Michelin Pilot Sport EV tire with the same sized Michelin Sport 4 SUV tire, they came in with these two different numbers. So the Sport 4 SUV came in with 8.8 kilograms per ton, and the Pilot Sport EV came in with 6.7 kilograms per ton.
What are those numbers?
That is a measurement of rolling resistance.
Okay.
So according to Michelin, 2.1 kilograms per ton, which is the difference between those two, equates to more than 60 kilometers of additional range, or more than 10% of the additional range of the vehicle.
That would be amazing if it were true.
Right. So now I'm not exactly sure what kind of EV they tested, but basically it was something around like a 100D Model S, like a 2016, 2017 Model S, although I think the size of the tire would have been wrong. So I'm not sure which EV they used.
But I mean, you're talking like over 10% range increase on a single charge.
That would be pretty huge because that would change vehicles. And it's really exciting for Tesla owners because the bigger the range you have, 10% gets bigger and bigger.
Well, so where can we get these?
So according to Michelin on their press release, they're already available in China, and they will be available on vehicles released in Europe and North America from the third quarter of 2021. But I went to Michelin, China to try and find this tire, and I couldn't find it anywhere. I searched and I searched and I used Google Translate where it can look at Chinese letters and tell me what it actually says. And I was going through the website and I spent like 3 hours trying to find it. I wasted so much time.
Well, we need some help then.
Find it.
I mean, I'm betting someone out there can help us. I mean, especially if you're a Chinese viewer and you can help search the market. But first of all, I want this. Do you guys want this?
Well, actually, I asked our patrons over on Patreon what they thought, and we're going to be talking about that during the poll of the week.
Okay, so, I mean, I'm guessing you guys want this, but, I mean, obviously it's going to depend on price and so forth.
Right.
If you guys can help us out to see if these are available, I'd love to get a set so we can do some testing. Quick, what's the largest battery in the world? Quick.
The Hornsdale battery pack in South Australia.
Very good. You've been paying attention. Woo. But soon... this will be the world's largest battery. This is the PG&E Moss Landing project. It involves two companies, Dynegy, which is installing a 300 megawatt or 1,200 megawatt hour battery, and Tesla, which is installing a 182 megawatt or 730 megawatt hour battery, with plans to eventually go up to 1.1 gigawatt hours.
Wow. This project will save more than $100 million over the next 20 years, and this project should be completed by the second half of this year.
Now, by the way, Tesla deployed a record 1,584 megawatt hours of energy storage in Q4 of 2020 alone, almost a 200% increase year over year and a 100% increase quarter over quarter.
Wow.
All right, it's time for Going Green, and we're brought to you by EcoWear, and we got some new shirts we're wearing this week.
I got a plaid Model S.
That thing's cool.
I mean, so if you're getting a plaid Model S, you have to get the shirt with it. That's
or just get that, and it's a cool talking point.
Yeah, and then you have a Starship shirt.
Yeah, this is the updated Starship.
It goes all the way to Mars.
Yeah.
That's cool. And yeah, we have new designs uploaded all the time, so if you've been there before, you should head back and check it out. And we carbon offset the manufacturing, the shipping, and the life cycle of your purchase, and we plant a tree for every order, and we help cap a well for your order. So these are abandoned oil wells out in Montana, which are spewing methane into the air right now as we speak. And as you know, methane is a greenhouse gas. We are working with the Well Done Foundation to help cap those wells, and you buying a shirt actually helps support that.
Yeah, we've got a new customer rewards program, and we have free shipping, so go check it out. All right, so Lion Electric, the electric bus company based in Quebec, Canada, will be delivering 10 electric buses to the largest school district in California, the Los Angeles School District, this spring.
Lion Electric is currently SPACing with Northern Genesis Acquisition, or NGA, on the New York Stock Exchange. And when the deal is completed soon, they should be trading under the ticker symbol LEV.
Now, the Los Angeles School District is the second largest school district in the U.S., with over 1,000 schools covering an area of over 720 square miles. The Lion C bus being delivered has a 210 kilowatt hour battery with a range of 155 miles, and it can hold up to 77 passengers.
Interesting to note that the buses are being funded by the California Energy Commission, which ranked Lion Electric as the highest performing manufacturer in its technical evaluation and the manufacturer with the most cost competitive bid.
Now, disclaimer, Jesse and I currently hold stock in NGA, which is the SPAC for Lion Electric. All right, it's time for Into the Future. So fossil fuel burning power plants and industrial plants emit carbon dioxide into the air as a byproduct.
Yeah, we knew this, right?
Capturing the CO2, though, from these emissions and then burying the CO2 has been the dream of many scientists. The problem is that this technology is super expensive.
It requires a lot of energy to extract the CO2 from the smoke being emitted because there are other gases like nitrogen that you have to deal with.
Well, now chemical engineers at EPFL in Switzerland have developed a graphene filter that can let the CO2 through but blocks other molecules. Professor Kumar Varun Agrawal says, our approach was simple. We made carbon dioxide-sized holes in graphene, which allowed carbon dioxide to flow through while blocking other gases such as nitrogen, which are larger than carbon dioxide. We estimate that this technology will drop the cost of carbon capture close to $30 per ton of carbon dioxide, in contrast to commercial processes where the cost is about 2 to 4 times higher.
His team is now working on a pilot plant demonstrator that will capture 10 kilograms of CO2 per day, funded by the Swiss government and industry.
All right, it's time for sunspots. So the Danish startup KiteX has come up with a new portable wind turbine, the Windcatcher.
At just 22 pounds, That's 10 kilograms and a cost of $1,046. This wind generator can be brought with you to set up at a camping site in just 15 minutes and provides up to 600 watts of power in winds as low as 8 miles an hour or 13 kilometers an hour.
Now, it's made of recycled plastic, and it's not noisy. At 65 feet away, you can't hear anything.
There's still about 26 days to go on their Kickstarter. We'll put the link down below. Check it out.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this because imagine if you brought, say, solar on your van or whatever, and you also had this that you could set up. Then you could be like collecting energy all night while the wind's blowing, have solar as well. Like you'd pretty much never be without power.
And you could have Starlink with you. And I mean, if all of this could be combined into a tiny house, tiny houses are pretty efficient. So you put that on a moving platform, which is appealing to more people. And suddenly you have people wanting to live more efficiently because they're able to move around, all on the power of electricity.
And if you'd like to be self-sufficient, you can contact our friends at Energy Pal, where they can help you get solar and batteries for your house.
If you have questions about solar or batteries, they have answers. They have been helping thousands of people get solar and batteries installed in their homes. You can check out their link down below and tell them that Zach and Jesse sent you.
All right, it's time for our video contributor stories. What do we got this week?
We've got our buddy Tony in California.
Hey, Zach and Jesse, this is Tony in California, where it's been a really dry and windy winter, and because of that my winter cover crop of peas and vetch have not grown very well, and this is part of a really big challenge, existential crisis really, for agriculture and for farmers. That is, climate change is disrupting weather patterns. We're having more irregular rainfall and more extreme temperatures and growing conditions. And one of the ways that farmers are starting to adapt to these problems is by constructing horticultural structures like hoop houses. Now, it's winter now, so we have plastic on this. In the summer, you take the plastic off, put some shade cloth over there, and you know, when you have a 105, 110, 115 degree day, some shade cloth on a structure like this could make a difference between your plants, you know, really dying in the heat and them getting to harvest. And beyond, you know, the obvious things of your plants growing well, these kinds of structures can make a really big difference for farm workers as well. There are many regions of California where in the summertime, once it gets to about 9, 10 a.m., people stop working because it's just not safe when it's that hot. Unless you have a structure with some shade cloth, then you can get a lot more stuff done during the day. And this is a big part of the reason why the agrivoltaics, which you guys covered last week, are a really big game changer in agriculture. It's the first horticultural structure where the structure itself is generating a secondary cash flow for the farmer in the form of that electricity. And if we zoom out and we think about the bigger issues in California, the biggest agricultural valleys in California have some of the busiest, largest roadways and transit hubs in the country. We're talking about the I-5 freeway, the I-10 freeway, the 99. You have millions and millions of pounds of freight being traveled through here, and the same features that make these agricultural valleys so great for growing crops is also what traps in a lot of the emissions and particulates from these vehicles. So like the worst air quality in the country is in the San Joaquin and Sacramento valleys because of the diesel emissions from all of those tractors doing the ground prep and from the semi trucks moving the food around. So there's a really big need to electrify our transportation. There's a need for electrification of you know, vehicles and cargo. We need to install a lot of megachargers there, and then that brings you to the next question: where's the electricity coming from? And I would suggest that we can invest heavily in structures like this, but modified to carry photovoltaic panels, because this is what farmers are already doing. For context, 1 acre of hoops like this costs about $18,000 in metal. So farmers are already making these investments. If we make some modifications to policies, or someone puts together the right business model, we could easily construct these sort of structures, but also have photovoltaics on top, doubling the land use efficiency. This is a huge opportunity for farmers and for infrastructure investment in California, especially when you consider the fact that these regions of California have some of the highest poverty rates and the greatest need for investment in our state.
Wait, so we just talked about this last week on the In-Depth.
Yeah, and I'm blown away by this. Tony put together all of his math and points into a document that I'm going to share below that you can actually comment on, and Tony will be able to see it. And he estimates that 1 acre of agrivoltaics should be able to power 5.4 Tesla semi-trucks.
Really?
Just 1 acre. And California has 9 million acres of irrigated farmland. And over 2 million of those acres are used to grow short plants like grapes, tomatoes, lettuce, strawberries, all of which are easy to fit under agrivoltaic structures.
I'm sorry, that would be 45 million semi-trucks.
Yeah. So
We don't need 45 million semi-trucks. That's a lot of power. Wow.
I'm so blown away. Tony did such a good job. Comment down below if you think that Tony should run for office. I mean,
Yes.
he took like 8 different pieces of information, put it together, combined it into a comprehensive idea for how to reduce CO2 emissions, improve crop yields, and improve the livelihoods and living conditions for millions of people.
Yeah, Secretary of Agriculture.
I mean, I know that he wanted to talk to Chamath about this idea. I think that Chamath should listen to him
Yeah,
and
point him in his cabinet.
I mean, this is a guy who knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And was able to put all of this stuff together. I'm blown away. Tony, you rock.
All right, it's time for our Patreon bonus stories. If you'd like to help support the show for as little as $1 a month and get to see all of our Patreon bonus stories, along with so many other cool perks, head on over to patreon.com/nowyouknow, and we'll see you there. All right, we're back from the Patreon bonus stories. It's time for the shout-outs. These are the people that make this show possible. Who do we got, Jess?
We've got Philip Ireland,
Greg Hruza,
Gleb Gladishevsky,
Steve Edgar,
Jonathan Coulier,
Lasse Lucas, Leonhardt Jensen,
Daryl Diggs,
Marilyn Cox,
Ralph,
Jim McAfee,
Alvin Slocum,
Nono Poon,
Sierra Mix,
Larry Bystrom,
Reese Mullen,
Ed Krantz,
John Christian,
The Property,
Chris Wright.
and Larry Liuhamo.
Thank you so much for supporting this channel. We can't do it without you.
All right, it's time for Elon's tweets of the week. And Tesla owners Austin said, snow caught in action, sliding right off of Tesla's solar roof in Austin, Texas.
Elon said solar roof is slightly hydrophobic, so water, snow, or ice slide off easily.
I want that now. Adam Klotz said, will solar roof be available in Canada soon?
Elon said later this year.
And Elon tweeted out, accession. What does that mean?
Is that like from one of the books that he read?
That is the 5th book in the Ian Banks Culture series. We should read that as part of our book club, you know.
That's a great idea.
And then Elon says, I admit to judging books by their cover. Not a metaphor, I mean actual books. And then Viv said, which one is your favorite cover art?
And Elon posted this one.
Yeah, Decline of the Roman Empire. He talks about that often. Tesla owners of Silicon Valley said, full self-driving beta is amazing. No point to ever fear it in any idea when next update is coming.
Elon said we're upgrading all neural nets to surround video using subnets on focal areas versus equal compute on all uncropped pixels, and many other things, so more time needed to write and validate software, maybe something next week. This is evolving into solving a big part of physical world AI.
Now, if you're wondering what he's talking about, I'm no computer expert, but I think what he's talking about is you focus on a few things in a frame and put all of your computing power on those versus trying to just look at every single pixel and see what changed from frame to frame.
And if you're thinking that that's crazy, guess what? It's what your eye does. You only see about the size of your thumbnail outstretched in your hand. That's where all the detail is. Everything else,
you throw
your
it away.
brain is lying to you.
Yep. That's why you didn't see the gorilla that just ran past the set.
That's why you didn't see the gorilla that just ran past the set.
Eugene said, will Tesla's neural net AI be able to solve other problems other than full self-driving?
Elon says, seems likely.
And Rob Dickinson said, New Zealand Model 3 is crazy overpriced. 0.74 exchange rate means our standard range plus should be less than $60,000, and it's $74,900.
Elon said prices in the U.S. of all goods don't include VAT, but it's usually included in other countries. Then there's import duty and transport costs. The intent is that revenue to Tesla is roughly similar in all countries, so taxes, tariffs, and transports make up the difference.
And then Elon tweeted out, please, ancestors, I need your guidance. What a meme lord. And Black Hole said, a full rotation of the planet Mars from the Hubble capture by NASA, and Elon said,
hey, babe.
Black Hole said, hi, Elon. Are space and time discrete or continuous? What do you think?
Elon said, nothing if not discrete, which isn't an answer at all. All right, so let's talk about the poll. The poll this week was about Michelin tires, the new EV tires.
Oh, we've already got data on that.
We've already got data on the poll. So over 500 people participated in this poll. Most people said that they would certainly pay a little extra for tires that would improve the range and reduce road noise.
Yeah, again, if you can get your hands on these tires, please let us know, and I would love to test these out. All right, it's time for community mail time.
Community mail time.
Our friend Scott in San Francisco got photos of Waymo's latest autonomous car, which is the Jaguar I-Pace.
Oh, that's what it is. It looks like you can barely tell all the sensors on it. Wow.
Well, at least you're not going to mistake it for a regular car.
There you go.
And then SmartBoy14727 sent us this from Chevy to point out that you can lock your J1772 Charger. So I got to thinking, yeah, we all probably need one of these in our car for those weird instances where you might want to lock it, like if you're in an airport or something and you're just a little skeezed out. So head on over to our Amazon link if you want to buy the small, easy to use and inexpensive master lock with a flexible loop to make it easy to lock it.
Right. And it's not so permanent that if you forgot the combination or lost the key or whatever, you could probably break it open and unplug your car and drive away.
Right.
And then this was sent in from one of our viewers, and we don't know who it's from.
Wait a minute. Where is that?
I did some digging. I did some searching. That is at the Tesla Groman facilities. And from what I can figure, these are all the apprentices that work there.
Whoa.
Yeah. Isn't that really neat?
I want to be an apprentice.
I know. That sounds so much cooler than being an intern. And then Ryan's mom snapped this picture of the hospital where she works. It looks like she might have set a trend with her Midnight Silver Model 3 back in 2018.
Wait, those are all Midnight Silver.
Yeah. So much for Midnight Silver not being popular, Zach.
Guess I was wrong.
Yeah.
Wow. What a good looking color.
And then David's batteries came in clutch up in Portland, Oregon during some recent power outages. Take a look at this.
Wait, I'm sorry. February 15th, 85 hours of backup?
It's a long day.
That's a long day.
I think it starts February 15th and it goes from there. 85 hours of continuous backup on his power walls.
Where he would have been without power?
For 85 hours. You lose everything in your fridge.
Yeah.
That's you
can't check your emails.
You got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like you have to leave.
Wow. And then our friend Jason wrote to us from Texas. He said, "Hey, Zach and Jesse, been watching y'all for a while now. I'm out of Texas and never thought your video on Octopus Energy would apply to us. Funny story, got me looped back to your video, but on a quick note, Octopus Energy is now in the US and you can buy and sell electricity." So long story short, when Texas lost power? A lot of people signed up for wholesale pricing power, which meant that you paid like 3 or 4 cents a kilowatt hour. It seemed like a deal. But then when the power company had to pay exorbitant prices, they passed them on to you. He had a friend who was charged $1,800 for 4 days of usage. Now, luckily, Octopus Energy forgave their customers' bills. So he's now switching over to Octopus. Really cool to see that Octopus is now available in Texas.
So it's sort of like Gritty, but Gritty did a much worse job of handling it.
I guess.
And in fact, I heard that they lost their ability to operate.
Yeah.
So yikesy. But I'm glad that Octopus is doing well.
Yeah. All right, it's time for Supercharger reviews, and these are sponsored by our friends at Evannex, the Tesla community's accessory store. If you're looking for awesome accessories for your Tesla, check out Evannex and use our discount code NowYouKnow to save you $10 on purchases over $100.
Hello, Zach and Jesse. Today we'll be reviewing the Supercharger station at 2620 West Broward Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The chargers are not as easy to see as we have experienced with other stations. It's equipped with 8 level 3 stalls with a max of 250 kilowatts. This is a charge we managed to get well there. The location feels a little cramped and you feel a bit of judgment from people using the gas pumps, mainly in the form of cold stares. Must be all that ice in their cars. The station seemed pretty clean and it is conveniently located for anybody wanting to grab a quick bite or do a little bargain hunting. It is also convenient for people on road trips since it's really close to I-95. We decided to give the award for the dirtiest Tesla while we were there. Unfortunately, we won. And most important of all, this location received sexy status. Overall, we will give this location 7 out of 10. Now you know!
Good morning from Great Falls, Montana. I'm at a 8-stall supercharger at the Hampton Inn. This V3 charger can deliver 250 kilowatts, so it's great for a quick charge, but there's lots of amenities for a longer meal or shopping stop, or an overnight here at the Hampton Inn, the Garden Inn and Suites about a block away, or the Comfort Inn and Suites and the Holiday Express, which are also nearby. close to the highway, this Charger also has the benefit of being in a side lot adjacent to the main Hampton Inn parking, which keeps traffic to a minimum and will hopefully discourage icing. But it's close enough still to be an easy walk to the lobby for restrooms. Directly across the street is the Cattleman's Cut Steakhouse and Black Bear Diner, then the Great Falls Marketplace Shopping Center area, featuring some quicker dining options, a food and drug store, other retailers, a movie theater, and Home Depot. It's all within walking distance technically, but some of these parking lots will be very cold and windy in the winter. The only negative I can find is that there doesn't seem to be a 24-hour quick convenience store or gas station nearby if you just need a snack on the go. But all in all, I'd give it an 8 out of 10, day and night.
Hi, Zach and Jesse. I'm at the older Hagerstown, Maryland Supercharger, 120 kilowatt, 6 stalls, but it's at the Hagerstown Premium Outlet Mall. So there's lots to do here, more than at the version 3, the brand new version 3. There's a food court and lots of food options there, easy walking distance. Now you know.
Hi, Zach and Jesse. This is John Donovan at the Hillsboro, Oregon Supercharger, version 3. It's got 11 back-end superchargers and 1 pull-in supercharger and 2 charge point chargers. It's in the Hillsboro Mall, so it's got a huge number of amenities. Just to name a few, Barnes & Noble, Starbucks, Target, Best Buy, all kinds of stuff here. I would give this a 10 out of 10. This has got so much stuff around it. Anyway, and being version 3, now you know.
Hello, Zach and Jesse. This is James G checking in again, but this time in Lafayette, Louisiana. I'm at the 8-stall version 2 supercharger here in a parking lot that's home to a lot of different shops. There's a Petco and Office Depot, as well as an Ulta Beauty. Across the way, a short walk away, is Chick-fil-A and McDonald's, very close to the supercharger. Not too bad at all, and the location isn't far from the highway. Overall, I give this station 8 out of 10 because everything's so close. And now you know.
I love supercharger reviews, and every once in a while we get a beautiful supercharger.
How about this one from our friend Erland at the Rolldal Supercharger in Norway? It's got all the right things, I think.
I think it's got
Mountains,
just about everything that I'm looking for. Yep.
Snow.
That's a check.
Sky,
That's a check.
All right, what do we got for new superchargers this week?
We've got the 8-stall version 3 in St. Petersburg, Florida.
We got the 3-stall version 3 in Halthorpe, Maryland.
The 8-stall version 3 in Tilton, New Hampshire.
Oh, we're going to go use that. Woo! The 4-stall 120 kilowatt in Tin Shin, Hong Kong.
The 8-stall version 3 in Kings Lynn, UK.
Nice. All right, so it's time for the Patreon giveaway. And if you want to get yourself in this big barrel of fun, join us on Patreon. The more you support us, the more you get your name in there, so the more chance of winning. And we're going to be giving away a $30 gift card for EcoWare, so you can choose whatever you like.
And the winner is Edward Stanilla.
Congratulations, Edward. You're going to get your EcoWare gift card, where we completely offset all of our products, and then we plant a tree and cap a well, so it's completely carbon negative.
Right, it's all stacked on top of each other. It's not like we were like, well, how can we reduce all, just offset the carbon? Offset the carbon, then we plant a tree, then we help cap a well. So basically, you're going to have a very carbon negative purchase.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to be talking about like, whoa, what's that t-shirt, man?
Right, like, what's that car? Why is it plaid? And you can be like, the plaid Model S.
Do I have something to tell you about?
Yeah, dude, you're gonna flip when you hear about this.
And that's kind of the point, is we need to be spreading the word. Like, I mean, we need the world to know. Like, there was a video this week of a woman who chased after a Model 3 because she thought that it was being driven by no driver. It wasn't. It was being summoned But we need people to know about this stuff, and you're the people who have to go tell them about it.
So yeah, Edward, congratulations on winning your free t-shirt. If you didn't win this week, but you still want one of our cool t-shirts, you can head over to ecoware.us.
And it means so all these people that are going by here on the list are supporting us on Patreon, and you can too. And for $5 a month, you're going to get your name up here. Thank you so much for the people that do this, because this show, we are heartwarmed to hear all the people who look forward to Mondays when they get to see the show. But it takes all of us, not just Zach and Jesse, but our whole team all week long to prepare the show for you. And so by supporting us on Patreon, you make that possible.
Thank you so much for watching.
Now you know.